you're going to want to get the book from fugitivepoems.com. Why? Because we have incredible indie creators like Casey Allen. I want you, before I bring him on, I want you to know, you'll notice that Casey's in his car. Casey actually, what he does for us is he drives the more sensitive stories across state borders, which is very illegal for the subject matter in these stories. He's our runner, he's our driver. This is Jason Statham. He has had to kill people for Containment Breach. We're not going to tell anyone that. Luckily, this will never be on YouTube. Casey, how are you doing today?
I was told I would have a voice scrambler on here.
There's a button for that. It's around here.
Okay, good, good, good. I'm good,
Casey,
man.
go ahead.
Sorry, I just got off work, and so I wanted to talk to you about the book. I'm super excited to be part of this project. I've seen bits and pieces of other people's stories come out, and then I've obviously seen my own. And holy smokes, you guys, I'm stoked. I'm really excited.
We're really excited to have you on this book because it's funny. This is actually the second time I'm ever talking to Casey live. The first time he interviewed James and I for Spoiler Country about Containment Breach Volume 2, Myth Reborn. But I feel like
Again from my car.
yeah, also for this is the great secret of Casey is that he actually lives in the car.
On the
But
go, man.
mover and a shaker. But I talk to you so often on Discord. When you signed on, it almost wasn't surprising to me to see your face because I talk to you every day, and I had to remind myself I very rarely see you face to face, only the second time. But I'm like, hey, it's my friend Casey. I feel like I've gotten to know you so well. But I want everyone at home to get to, or wherever the hell they're watching this, perhaps in their cars, to get to know you as well. So tell us a little bit about Casey Allen.
Okay, so I live in Birmingham, Alabama. I've been doing comics for maybe 5 years. And just getting to where I'm like, okay, I have an idea of what I'm doing. Um, but I mean, I think that's the way everybody talks. Maybe I don't know. I hope. Um, I I'm a dad, married. We live out in the woods, about 30 minutes outside of town. And I do most of my writing. I haven't really told many people this. I do most of my writing while I'm walking my dogs because it's we have uh, paths out behind our house in the woods. We have trails, and while I'm walking the dogs, I'll it's quiet enough that I'm able to think about the story, and I do a lot of writing there.
Do
So
you mean the contemplation part of writing, or are you bringing a laptop? Are you writing on your phone? What do you mean that you're writing while you're walking your dog?
mostly is just my phone, taking notes, doing stuff like that. My big dog is too much of a dumbass to let me type on a laptop, but like he will destroy that laptop with a quickness. But yeah, I'll carry my phone with me and think about what's going on in the story, and it's just a good way to kind of bounce ideas back and forth and figure them out. So
That the idea of being out in the woods and creating is something I'm instantly thinking I should bring. I don't have any dogs, so I could bring a laptop. I do everything in this office. I need total silence to write. I need total silence to write, which is not a good thing, a good trait for a writer when you have three children. So I do most of my
oh
writing
yeah,
way
yeah, I
late
know
at
that
night.
too.
Um, how did you get into writing, Casey?
So back uh, in my late teens and early 20s, I played music around town, and I wasn't any good, but I played it. It was something I liked doing. And once we had kids, when my wife and I had our first child, it was the music had to kind of stop, not because there was an ultimatum on my wife's part or anything like that. It was like more like, you have a sleeping baby that you want to keep asleep.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to find a new way, a new outlet. And I ended up meeting up with this group on Reddit that eventually became the Comic Jam. And after a while, I took on more responsibilities with the Comic Jam and started doing editing there. And it's been a great way for me to meet a lot of uh, comics folks and individuals that kind of have the um, same set of skills and same desire to push themselves further. And that's, I mean, that's where I met you. So it's been really fun doing that and being involved with that and seeing people grow, not just, you know, being able to participate myself, but and expand my own ability, but just seeing people go from, you know, having an idea of what they're doing to just starting to kill it. It's really amazing.
I cannot thank you and the Comic Jam enough for existing and welcoming James and I in. I got to thank the great Doug Wood for providing the introduction. James and I were
Yeah,
talking
Doug's great.
one day and about greater outreach. We had put out volume 1, Quarantine Chronicles, and we're getting ready to put out volume 2, and we wanted to meet more creators and whatnot. And he said, "Do you know about the Comic Jam?" And I did. And folks, thecomicjam.com, the is part of it, thecomicjam.com. If you're a comic creator watching this and you want a playground, you want a sandbox where you can stretch your legs and try different things and play with different parts of the craft or perfect your part of the craft, go to the Comic Jam. You want to get involved. If you are a comic fan, every week get to the Comic Jam, because every week the Comic Jam drops a slew of one-page comics, or at least one by Jack Fantoni. Every week the Comic Jam drops a slew of one-page comics based on a theme. Every week there's a new theme. Whoever wants to writes a script. Casey then pairs those people with whatever artists that week want to draw. They produce the comic. We got letterers and colorists, and they come out every week. You've got the greatest reason to stop working on a Monday and read great comics, and you're going to see some awesome creators come growing. And go. Doug Wood started there. A lot of great people have started with the Comic Jam and kept going there. I can't recommend the Comic Jam enough. And Casey is the editor in chief. Casey is actually, we were honored that Casey put a quote on the back of Containment Breach Volume 2, and he's really essential to this great program. I look forward to it. When we were doing Containment Breach Volumes 3 and 4 together, we did them at the same time because we're masochists. I actually, for the first time after a year, missed about 5 weeks
I
of
was worried
comic.
about you.
I kept starting scripts and not, I just didn't have the time. I was so overwhelmed by the production of the book. When I was able to get back to doing it, Casey, I felt alive again. So thank you. And folks, you want to get to the Comic Jam. You created such a great environment there. And you write as well. You do one pagers sometimes, but you've
Yeah,
written
yeah.
other things. Can you tell us about some of the other stuff that you've gotten out there?
So the first book I ever did on my own outside of the Comic Jam, it was a it's a series that I'm still working on with a guy named Pete Woods, and it's Voodoo Child, and it's a story about a Vietnam soldier who is presented with the mantle of the voodoo god of death, and it's all about refusing the call. Like, this is an entire storyline about refusing the call. Um, so it and Pete, I mean, whether you like the story or not, Pete's uh, illustrations are phenomenal. So I can definitely say he just blew my mind every time I would get a new page in my inbox. I'm like, holy crap! I cannot believe somebody did that. Um, so it's been super fun to write. Issue 3 is in process right now, and yeah, we've just been having a blast doing that. And it's funny because I will ask him, "Hey, did I take this too far?" And he'll be like, "What? No, no, no. I'll go further, do more." So, um, that it's really fun to do. And then I have another book with with another guy that I met from the Comic Jam called Bigfoot Knows Karate, and it was the concept was by Dan Price, and he asked me to. I offered to edit at first, and then I kept adding little bits and pieces, and I eventually came up with the antagonist in issue one. And finally, Dan came up to me and was like, "Do you want to just be a co-writer?" So now we're two issues deep into the book, and we just finished our second Kickstarter, and it successful. You know, had ended up reaching three stretch goals. So it's been a blast, and we have not only issue three in the works, but we have a side book that we are going to do with one of the cover artists for issue one, and it is going back to feudal Japan, and Bigfoot is going to fight something that would be in feudal Japan. So
That
I don't
is
want to give too much away, but yeah, it's a blast. I'm having so much fun with this.
well, it shows because it is. I forgive me for doing this on camera. I don't want to
Oh
leave them
no, no, no.
because I love these books. I got to get them right back in. I don't want them to fall. It shows because Bigfoot Loves Karate is a ton of fun to read, and you can tell, you can absolutely tell when there was love behind something. There are times that you can absolutely fake it. There are some people that are good enough that they can make something that they didn't love and they can fake it, but those people are few and far between. Most of us, you can tell, you can feel, and there's passion behind Bigfoot Loves Karate. There's this there's a sense of holy crap, I can't believe I'm being allowed to make this that I feel when I read Bigfoot Loves Karate. And I think that's awesome. Voodoo Child is, I'm dying for number three of Voodoo Child, dying for number two. I backed the Kickstarter. Bigfoot loves karate or knows karate. I keep saying Bigfoot loves karate.
It,
I don't know why.
I mean, he loves it, but he also knows it. It's all good.
That's the essential thing is that he knows it.
I keep trying to get Dan to do some merch with Bigfoot holding a coffee mug and just saying Bigfoot needs some coffee. Um, and he hasn't bit yet, but I'm wearing him down. I think. Hopefully we'll get there.
I like it. I'm a fan of your writing. I'm a fan of your mind. I love the way
Oh,
your
thanks,
stories.
man.
You're talking about the reluctant hero as a theme. As also a writer, this is how my brain works. I'm always aware of my themes. What am I developing? I'm not aware of them when I start writing. I'm a they're plotters and pantsers. I'm a pantser. I fly by the seat of my pants. But once I start seeing it come
Oh,
together, I I let I let the theme emerge, and that's kind of how I am. And I start playing with the mythological implications of it and what it's going to do to the character. And listening to you talk about the reluctant hero, I can see that you've got some of those similar themes and ideas in your mind. Tell me a little bit about that.
so okay, I was talking about how I write the other day to Dan Price, the co-writer and artist for Bigfoot Knows Karate, and I try to keep the central theme in mind as I write, but where he is very structured and like he'll hit his bullet points, bam, 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 bam. I need to hit this, and this. You know that scene in Pee-wee's Big Adventure when he walks by the pet store and has to like save all the puppies and stuff, and then he passes by the big container of snakes, and he grabs the snakes and he's running out. Ah, a handful of snakes
Yeah.
freaking out. That's me. That is how I write. That I'm anytime I have an idea in my head, typing into my phone usually. It's it's Pee Wee with a handful of snakes. Like, like I have to. I'm doing this. I'm getting this out. I'm doing this now. Um, and it is chaos. But then then you go back and rein it in. But at first, it's Pee Wee with a handful of snakes, man.
No, I've
Uh,
never described it that way. And that's exactly right how I do it too. I never thought of that image. I write that what I always tell people is I write in chaos. It rains down. I get it all on the page. It's a disaster. I go to bed and the next day I look at it and say, all right, what can I do with this crap storm that I put on here? Pee Wee with a hand of snakes is brilliant. That's really great.
best thing is when somebody's talking to you about your writing and they mention something like, "I like how you did, blah blah blah," and it wasn't at all your intention, but it makes you sound smart. So you're like, "Yeah, I meant to do that." Like, I'm just a dumb. I'm trying to keep it PG-13. I'm just an idiot. Like, I like to write stuff, and I sometimes it's rule of cool. And sometimes it's like, yeah, I want to get something emotional out, but I never feel like I'm smart enough to do this. It's just me doing it because it's fun. It's what I like to do. Is um, if I wasn't writing, I would be expressing myself some other way. Like, I used to write songs. Now I don't. Now I write comics. If I wasn't writing comics, I don't know, decorative macrame. I don't know. I'd figure something out.
Okay, I kind of want to see you do that now. Um,
I'll
I'm a
send you
fan.
my first piece.
Please do, please do. I'm going to commission it. I know exactly what I want. First, I have to find out what macrame is. Um, I'm a fan of your writing, and I really dig the stories you come up with. But
Thanks, man.
I also dig you talked about the rule of cool and trying to get something with some emotion out. I actually think that you always do both. Yeah, Bigfoot loves karate. Damn it, Bigfoot knows karate. Bigfoot loves Chachi. Um,
Yeah.
is um, uh, Bigfoot knows karate is like a concept that's lodged firmly in cool absurdity, right? And that's what you feel like you're going to get. But when you actually read it, it starts off with heart and philosophy immediately. Not like in a pretentious way. In a we're in a world that matters. This character is not look, it's Bigfoot. He knows karate. No, it's deeper than that. But still a ton of fun. And I find that you always balance that. I mean, Voodoo Child is got zombie elements. A bloody. It's a war story made bloodier by horror. And it's ridiculous too, the concept of it, and yet there's a core to it. There's a core humanity. There's a core empathy to it. And I was so happy when you gave your script in for Containment Breach Volume 4 of Clouds and Ether, because here was another Casey Allen touching the humanity in an absurd, badass kind of way. Can you tell me a little bit about coming up with the story for of Clouds and Ether?
Oh, this is like probably like one of the best examples of PV with a handful of snakes. I so it it was a challenge, and I say that as a compliment to you, because having your theme and then the added theme and having to marry those concepts while also telling a story. I really um, I couldn't just pull something out of my butt. I had to really really sit and think about it. And I was honestly worried I would miss the deadline, because it was like, I all everybody's waiting on me to get off my butt and come up with something. And I was kind of freaking out for a day or two, and then I figured out what I wanted to do. Um, I wanted to tell I wanted to tell a story that that had a twist. I wanted to tell a story that you wouldn't expect, the ending. Like I don't guess anybody does, but like I wanted to hammer. I knew I had to hammer it. I had to to hit that dinger because otherwise, like, what's the point? So I hope I did. Um,
You did not, and we're cutting the story. I thought this was the appropriate forum
okay,
to share that information.
good,
Uh,
good, good. I'm glad that we're getting it out there now. So,
we
but
wanted you to go through the entire process before we. Um, yeah, the you hit it. Um, I don't want to give away the story at all. You set so you talked about working in chaos, pee with a handful of snakes, and yet the I see why you say people come up to you and they're like, "Wow, it's so well plotted and it's really interesting the way you did," because this story reads, and I've read it about 40 times, putting the magazine together. This the magazine, the volume. This story reads so carefully plotted. It's just like every dot is where you know what it is. Um, if the theme of this book had been heist, this would have fit perfectly. This is a heist movie. This is a heist
oh yeah,
story
yeah,
where
for sure.
every but you accomplished that, and it literally is. But I also mean, as far as plotting goes, you laid it out like a heist movie, where when the ending happens, you can have a flashback of the entire rest of the story and be like, "Oh, good," and that's why that. And I love
It's
that. I'm
Kaiser
so impressed.
Soze blending into traffic as he walks away.
Yes, yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, yeah,
Great.
and that wasn't like in my head at the time as I was writing it, but like after after it was all said and done, I was kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, yeah. I'm kind of letting this driver of the story, just kind of fade into the background, and we'll let the we'll let whatever happens next happens, but it's gonna happen because this guy trying to not give away what the story is about. But
Yeah.
yeah, it
It's
it was super fun to write.
and well, it was is incredibly fun to read. It's a sci-fi adventure. It is a heist story. It's funny when I said that I was actually thinking about it as far as the plotting style, but it is in some ways a heist story. But it's a lot more than that. Your artist is, and I told him this, so I don't feel bad saying it when we spoke. His name is James Coffin, and every time I see his name, I just want to call him Big Jim Coffin. And that's the first thing I told him when I interviewed him. Every time I see his name in my brain, I hear Big Jim Coffin, which just and now I want to write a whole story about him. James Coffin is an incredible artist.
Oh, he's fantastic.
How
Yeah.
was it working with James?
Um, he really wanted to get this right, and he's one of those artists that instead of going like, all right, it says there's a house here on page 4, I'm just going to draw a house. He'll send you 5 pictures of a house and go, which one should I use? And you're like, oh crap, I'm sorry you had to do all that. I guess number three works exactly how I wanted it in my head. I'm sorry that you had to draw 5 other houses to get that one, but yes, this is awesome.
I love it.
And he he really wanted. He took a. I remember he took a lot of time with the narrator, how the narrator was going to look, because he wanted him to. He wanted in his mind he had an idea of how somebody would look from like the future, and he really wanted to hammer that home. And so it was kind of fun because in the story it goes back and forth between future and like what is or the past and what is the present in that timeline. And so he had to age him, and so it was fun seeing where he went with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really fun how everything kind of came together, and he was I couldn't have asked for a better partner on this because he really he was hitting on all cylinders.